What's good people, and welcome back to my channel, Kruboy Productions, and my podcast, the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy Podcast. And this is episode number 90, Wicked for Good, a nerdy review with spoilers ahead. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody is doing very well. Glad to be back here doing another episode for you. And if you are new here, welcome to my channel here. And what I do is I do reviews, spoiler reviews on film. I cover a lot of things on films that are released in theaters, streaming movies, a nerdy rewatch series with Blu-rays. As when I do the reviews, I talk about the story details as well as the production details, the people behind the scenes that make the movie. In addition to the actors, I shout those particular people out, as well as the previous projects that they have worked on that many of us have seen. I also talk about Broadway shows that I see live in person, and I review them and get into the nerdy details with that as well. I do some TV coverage as well. I do the same, like I said, with the streaming movies and Blu-ray special features, things that I point out, small details in this industry. If you like those things, subscribe for more to this channel and my second channel, Kruboy Productions Presents Nerdy Notes. And you can find the shorts on TikTok, as you can follow me at Nerdy Podcaster 124 and this podcast on all podcast platforms. Search for the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy Podcast. As I said, I will be getting into this Wicked for Good film. Lots to say. I'll have chapters in this video in the description, so feel free to skip ahead to the particular section that you want to get to. Okay, now we are talking about this 2025 film, Wicked for Good. Let's get into it. The director is Jon M. and I'm sure many of you are familiar with his previous work, and his previous projects that he has directed includes Wicked 2024. He is also the director of Crazy Rich Asians, that was in 2018. He also directed In the Heights, that was in 2021. He is also the director of G.I. Joe Retaliation, that was in 2013. And he has directed Step Up 2, The Streets in 2008, and Step Up 3D in 2010. And he was an executive producer on Step Up 4 and 5, Revolution, and Step Up All In. I love those movies, so I had to mention those. I have all 5 of them. I plan to look back and review those Blu-rays and get into those at a later date. But those are Jon M. Chu's previous projects that he has directed. Now let's get into the cast. And as I mentioned the cast, I'm probably going to have a nerdy note here. I'm going to mention some fun nerdy details about some of the cast members here. And one of the things you're going to hear me say is a call sheet when I refer to one particular person. Now, this isn't something that's public that you can go and find, but it is something that is a thing in Hollywood. And this is based off of my information and what I know, based off of the way the cast is and the importance of the role that the actor is playing, specifically when I talk about Jonathan Bailey. So it's not set in stone, in fact, but I believe there is some truth to it. For instance, on a call sheet, the person on the lead of the show goes as the actor goes because they are the leader of the show, whether it's Will Smith on A Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or if it's a Jennifer Garner on Alias, she is number one on the call sheet for that show. Kiefer Sutherland for 24, Lucy Lawless for Xena, etc. So that's what I mean in terms of being number one on the call sheet. Now, the cast of this Wicked for Good film includes Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, Jonathan Bailey. Let's talk a little bit about Jonathan Bailey. Now, when Jonathan Bailey was filming this movie, he was also filming another movie last year, because Jonathan Bailey has two movies, big movies, that have released this year in 2025. He had Jurassic World Rebirth that released in July 2025. And of course, this Wicked for Good in November 2025. Now, for Jurassic World Rebirth, thankfully the schedule worked out for him as he was able to go between the two movies to film. But for that, he played a prominent role. And I want to say for that movie, based off of my opinion, I believe in his importance in that movie, he was probably number 2, 3, or 4 on the call sheet for Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, for this Wicked film, I want to say he is most likely number 3, 4, 3 or 4, 5 at the latest on the call sheet for this Wicked for Good film, based on his importance. And moving on to other cast members, Ethan Slater, Marissa Bode, Colman Domingo. Let's talk a little bit more about Colman Domingo. Busy actor in Hollywood, as he's doing a lot of stuff. And that's a good thing to be a working actor in Hollywood. Now, he has a small role in this film as he voices the Cowardly Lion. Now, Colman also has a film that released last week on November 14th, The Running Man. He is prominently in that film, most likely number 3 or 4 on the call sheet for that film. And Colman Domingo also is in a Marvel project / Disney as Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the animated Disney Plus show released earlier this year. Season 2 is expected to be released in the fall of 2026. Colman voices the role of Norman Osborn. He is the voice of that character in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So he was voicing and working on that show, doing his voice acting for this Wicked for Good, as well as being in person to do the live action for The Running Man. And then the rest of the cast, Bowen Yang. Now, he has a smaller role in this film, but important. But he is a regular on Saturday Night Live, but the schedule works out for him as he's able to film his scenes for Wicked and Wicked for Good while he is on his break from Saturday Night Live. And then I finish up with the last cast member, Scarlett Spears. Scarlett Spears plays the younger version of Galinda. So that is the cast for Wicked for Good. Some of the cast, of course, the cast, it's large, many other people involved. Now, let's get into this film. And I like how the film opens up with Michelle Yeoh. Of course, she plays Madame Morble, and she's voicing over in terms of what's happened and talking about the Wicked Witch, talking about Elphaba. So the tone is starting to set with the stakes raised and the intensity up a little bit. So I like how it opens up. Now, the performances in this film, they're all great. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are, of course, they're excellent in the acting that they do, as well as the singing that they do. But one other person that stood out to me, as I just mentioned her name, that is Michelle Yeoh. And she is one of the villains in this film. And I really like what she did with her role being one of the villains. And so it was cool to see. I like what she did with it. It really stood out to me. I kind of don't like seeing her in a bad person role, but it was cool to see. And it's always good to do something different in the different roles that you can be in an actress. Really great job by Michelle Yeoh in what she was doing with her role, as well as everyone else. Now, in terms of this film overall, I love the film. I thought it was excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I don't really have too many bad things to say about it. There's only one thing that I really didn't like, and it was about halfway through the film when Galinda and Elphaba and the wizard, Jeff Goldblum, they are all together in this ballroom sphere, or maybe right before that. And the wizard starts singing his song. And that part right there started out, it was a little bit slow for me. Didn't really like it too much. But other than that, that's my only negative thing to say about this film. And I have seen the Wicked show on Broadway a minimum of 3 times, possibly 4 times. And I want to say I counted about 5 new songs in this film, which I like them. And some of them got a little bit of a different arrangement, which was pretty good. And then also, in terms of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, Galinda, and Elphaba, they were great in what they did, but also in one of the songs for both of them that they sung, they had to sing with emotion as they were crying towards the end of it. And the way they performed those songs, you really felt the emotion of both of them at the times when they did those songs. So you really felt it, and it was really well done when they were singing those particular songs. And let's move on to another technical thing I want to get into, and that is the cinematography. This goes hand in hand also with another song, No Good Deed. That was probably my favorite song that was performed in this film, and Cynthia Erivo was excellent in this. And also, just the way the arrangement of that song, how it started and how it ended, and everything in between. I really enjoyed it. Now, another thing I enjoyed in addition to Cynthia Erivo singing it was how the song ended up, both in the arrangement of the music and the instruments, and also the way how Cynthia Erivo, how Elphaba was positioned at the end while she was flying, with the monkeys in the background, and then the cinematography of this shot at the end of that song, the monkeys in the background, and then the gold, yellowish dusk color palette in the background. I really enjoyed how that looked, in addition to how continuously how the song was going and how it ended right there. I love that. So hats off to the cinematographer for this film, Wicked for Good. And her name is Alice Brooks. And I want to shout her out. Alice Brooks, she's a cinematographer for this Wicked for Good film, as well as Wicked in 2024. The previous projects that Alice Brooks has worked on as a cinematographer is, as I mentioned, Wicked 2024. She also worked on In the Heights in 2021 and Tick Tick Boom in 2021. So those are some of her previous projects. There were a lot of great cinematography shots in this film, whether it was the flashbacks to the 2024 film Wicked, particularly when Galinda and Elphaba were in the field and they're laying their head on each other, or one is, and you get the background with the sun setting, and you get that nice image of the sun in the background with the two of them just in the fields having a moment there within their friendship. That was a great shot as well. The shot of the fields and Munchkin Land, and just amazing cinematography throughout this film. Another technical thing I'll mention briefly is the production design, the hair, the wardrobe, the makeup, all were very excellent, well done. You can tell the attention to detail that went into it. I'm not going to say too much about this right now because I want to do a separate video for this particular aspect of the film that I want to shout the people behind these roles and their previous projects and just the detail of it. But I'm going to do another video for that. So subscribe for more and stay tuned. Turn the bell notifications on for that. And you can follow on TikTok at NerdyPodcaster124, as the shorts will be there as well as on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, and anywhere on the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy podcast. But I'll get into more of that in a separate video. The story, of course, of Wicked, and also weaving the story of The Wizard of Oz. I loved how the story started. I loved how it ended and the different turns it took, the seriousness of it, and then the emotion of it, particularly when getting towards the end of the film and Elphaba decides to surrender, to give up, but she doesn't want to, but she knows she has to. And Glinda is trying to tell her, no, you don't have to do this. And so they're having a moment together to say goodbye to each other. And they are just doing that scene very well. Good job to the writers. And you just felt the emotion of that scene. And as they both were in pain, and you felt it. And it was so good. And then when Elphaba says, here, go in here, hide in here, they can't know you were here. So she goes in that closet, in that room, closes the door, and then you get a shot of Elphaba and Glinda side by side on different sides of the door. They're crying and sad. In that scene, that moment right there, you felt that emotion between the two of them as well. And then also, I want to go back to another thing about cinematography, something that was really quick. When you first get to Elphaba's hideout, when she goes there after, I think it was right at the beginning of the film, as she frees some of the animals as they're building the yellow brick road. She goes back to her hideout and she goes to a view of her hideout, and she goes to it, and you see a view of the city, and it's a very quick shot, a couple of seconds. But as you look out from her perspective, it gives me a reminder of Avengers Infinity War. When Thanos goes after the snap, he goes and sits down and watches the sun set. And the way that scene looked, very briefly, only a couple of seconds, but it reminded me of that, the cinematography of that. It was very quick because she didn't stay there too long. She just went and looked and turned around and went back to have her back there. So it was very brief, but that just reminded me of that particular shot as well. I have, I guess, a lot to say with this film, but again, I just really enjoyed how everything went, the singing, the going in and out of it. Everyone looked good. The ensemble cast, when they were in harmony singing together, I just enjoyed it very, very much so. Even the people that didn't have too much screen time, when they did, it was great. It's just a really, really great film. Those are pretty much all of my thoughts on the film. And that is, I think that's all I'm going to have to say. I think I have more to say, but I can't remember all of the things. But with that, I hope I provided you with value. Hopefully, you learned something in this review with the nerdy notes that I went into. So, subscribe to the channel here, Kruboy Productions, as well as my second channel, Kruboy Productions Presents Nerdy Notes, where I put all the shorts, where I'm continuously putting the shorts from this channel onto that, as well as new shorts, and as well as on the podcast feed. For those of you that are listening, you can continue to follow the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all podcast platforms. Search for the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy podcast. And on TikTok for shorts, follow me at Nerdy Podcaster 124. And that's going to be all. And with that, I want to send all of you good vibes for the rest of your day. And until next time, we will talk soon.